Welcome to the 5th episode of Locomotive Spotlight. This is the series of which each episode focuses on a unique or otherwise interesting / noteworthy New Zealand locomotive, be it steam, diesel or electric. In this episode we're focusing on Y542, a preserved 060 tank engine. Like X442, W192, BA552, and the Asia song of the same name, Y542 is a sole survivor. She was built by the Hunslet Engine Company of Leeds, England in 1923, as part of a class of 3 060Ts for the Public Works Department. If my research is correct, 542 and 544 were used to help construct the line between Napier and Gisborne, while 543 was used in the construction of the now mothballed Stratford to Okahukura line. As the Public Works Department switched over to internal combustion locomotives, they decided to transfer the 3 Y-class engines to NZR, although they weren't actually classified as the Ys at the time. 543 was transferred in 1938, with the other 2 following in 1945. Interestingly, they kept their PWD numbers after joining the NZR fleet, but they weren't classified as the Y-class until 1951. What's curious about the Y classification is that normally NZR's tank engines were classified under the W series. Take WJ466 or WW491 for example. As time went on, NZR found they had little use for the Y-class tank engines. Despite this, they remained in service until 1957. That year saw the withdrawal of 543 and 544, which was sadly scrapped. As for 542, she was sold to Wilson's Portland Cement for industrial service. And speaking of Portland, I think I'll take a quick break from this poor excuse for a history lesson to drop in some footage of DFB's 7049 and 7158 trundling through Portland. When she was in Portland, Y542 was used alongside more ex-NZR tank engines. These were a D-Class 240 tank and the 3 surviving unrebuilt L-Class engines, which are also 240 tanks. There were also some Peckett tank engines that served in Portland, including 2 that are now preserved at the Whangarei Steam and Model Railway Club. Y542 remained in service at Portland until 1973, when she was withdrawn from service. The engine stayed on site until 1985 before being donated to Auckland's Museum of Transport and Technology. She has since been fully restored and often operates under her own power on MOTAT Western Springs Railway. Occasionally she has even ventured further afield to places like Glenbrook and Waihi, but I've only ever seen her running in Auckland. As with previous LS episodes, we will now cut to some footage of Y542 in action, although unfortunately I don't have too much footage of this locomotive. This was my perspective of the journey up the WSR, filmed in April 2018.
Right away. Oh!
Coincidentally, I didn't end up getting to Keith Park Station until later in the day, so much so that I missed the last round trip on the line. The driver said that myself and a few other people could still ride the train back up the line, but we'd have to leg it back to the Aviation Museum and Tram station. As for what tram I rode on to get back to Great North Road, it was ex-Melbourne W2 class number 321. Incidentally, the W2s are one of my favourite tram designs. And here we see Y542 shunting the coaches away after the last run. The WSR is only around 1.2 kilometres long, but it does feature a very steep incline. Jumping forward to November 2019, we now see the Y leaving Keith Park Station with the demonstration goods train. In a way, this lot was more of a goods with car consist, since it included a car van / brake coach at the back. That coach was AL 50147, and it looked like one of the late 80s or early 90s era Auckland suburban trains. Suffice to say, those services have certainly come a long way since 1993. A little later on, after I got on a train hauled by F180, we now see the Y heading back down the line and the drivers exchanging the tablets. At the other end of the line, after I went on a quick tour through the engine shed, we now see Y542 coupling up to the same train we saw earlier. This time I would actually get on board to head back down the line.
Why does the train go like this? They didn't make it Yes, it was.
There are younger guys.
It's coming up. It's almost walking. What happened?
You want tea? Yes, because you're lonely. That's why more of you. I want to take you one
Thank you for watching episode 5 of Locomotive Spotlight. Feel free to check out the other episodes of this series, which can be found in the LS playlist. And stay tuned for the next episode, which will be a little different, in the sense that we'll be focusing on a steam tram rather than a conventional locomotive.